First of all, welcome everyone, thanks for coming. I know for a lot of you it's already been a long morning, so I'll try not to keep you waiting too much longer. 10 years ago, John McCormick and the transition year students in Terenure College planned and hosted a conference. The goal was to bring leaders in a variety of fields together with students from around Ireland to inspire the younger generation. They believed that by showing students examples of leadership in all its forms, they would be better equipped to fulfill their own potential for leadership. 10 years later, the conference has grown from a few hundred attendees to over 2,000, but the aim hasn't changed. The world today is overcrowded with people who would be our leaders. Last year's presidential election in the United States was contested by more candidates than ever before. And yet, many people were displeased with the winner. I don't believe that there were no viable candidates for president out of all of America's 300 million citizens. I think that the country's best leaders didn't even run. You don't have to search very hard to find bad leaders. Today, anyone with a Twitter account has a potential audience of millions. There are people trying to lead with 400 characters or a soundbite. Our perception of leadership has been distorted. Leadership doesn't always come from the loudest voice. A real leader doesn't need to shout to be heard, because when a real leader whispers, people become quiet and listen. Unfortunately, not all of our leaders live up to this ideal. If you feel that your leaders aren't representing you well, then be the alternative. Some incredibly wise and capable people did not run for President of the United States. They assumed that someone else would. There is nothing stopping you from leading. There is a myth that leadership is limited to the extraordinary, but we all have a potential for leadership. Leadership is much less a quality than a circumstance. It shows itself when we're brave enough to take on responsibility. When we take control, not because we want to, but because somebody has to. And leadership is an earned privilege. It does not come from birth or money or even luck. Our speakers today are evidence of that. Whatever influence they have, they overcame huge adversity to attain. They have many differences. They're business people, innovators, athletes, and social entrepreneurs, but they have that in common. They didn't become leaders because the odds were stacked in their favour. They worked hard and they achieved greatness, and when the opportunity arose to lead, they accepted it. The goal of this event is to inspire you and to empower you. Hopefully, at some stage today, you'll realise that you have what it takes to be a leader. And hopefully, that realisation will give you the confidence you need to offer guidance when others look to you for it. We won't always be able to lead. Sometimes it will be someone else's turn. But at some stage, and probably many times in life, we will all be called upon to lead. And when that chance presents itself, it can be frightening. But fear is rarely a good reason to reject an opportunity. Every day, people shy away from leadership because they're scared or because they think that they're not good enough. Maybe they could have been the next Gandhi or Mandela. It's a tragedy that the world never got to see what they can do. After today, none of you should think of yourselves as less than a leader. When people speak about changing the world, there are two very different but equally insightful quotes which come to my mind. The first is by Margaret Mead. She once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And the second, Macklemore once said, "Don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change." A few weeks ago, we asked some students what traits they thought strong leaders have in common, and there were a few answers which came up again and again. Words like humility, guidance, encouragement. There are no criteria for leadership, but if there were, Miss Ryan and Miss Gilligan of Terenure College would tick all the boxes. So I'd like to thank them on behalf of Transition Year, because without their diligence and immense patience, none of this would be possible. sponsors. The loyal support of Microsoft has allowed us to grow this conference through the years and ensure that its message reaches as many students as possible. And the backing of our main sponsor this year, AIB, has allowed us to organise the event without once having to make a sacrifice which would have compromised its quality. Thanks to all of our other sponsors, Pennies, One for All, Steam Study Abroad, and everyone else who has supported us. Their support makes this event possible, but it is, of course, our speakers who deserve the most thanks. Their willingness to share stories and their wisdom out of their own goodwill has been truly striking. Over the next few hours, some incredible people will take this stage. I urge you to take advantage. Listen carefully, consider what they say. If something strikes a chord with you, take note of it. And ask questions, get involved, don't be shy. You might never get the chance again. And as an added incentive, there will be prizes at the end of the day for the best questions. Our Master of Ceremonies, George Morgan, will be speaking to you about this and lots more. For now, just remember, the speakers that will address you today really aren't anything other than a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens who found something they loved, did it every day, and changed the world. Thank you all for coming and for listening. I hope you discovered something new today, and I hope you enjoy yourselves. I'd now like to hand you over to our representative from AIB and Dublin GAA, James McCarthy.